If you're listening right now, you probably have a very full life in so many ways and still a very empty feeling. You're competent, you're reliable, that you're the person that everyone calls, you're the person that always checks in. And somewhere underneath all of that, all the planning, the executing, the managing, the performing, you've lost yourself. You've lost your spark, your desire, your turn on. Maybe you've lost what makes you feel comfortable in your body, what makes you feel the most you, what makes you feel the most alive. You don't know what makes you feel sexy, what makes you feel turned on. You've probably forgotten how to have fun. And when I sit across from women, personally, virtual, and I ask those questions, what do you do for fun? What turns you on? What do you desire? A lot of times she hasn't thought about those things in years or maybe ever. You ask her about her goals, about the next quarter in her business, and she's got that down. Planning and controlling, check. Desiring and receiving, need some work. I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, naturopathic doctor, author, pleasure and intimacy strategist. Here we are healing from people pleasing, overgiving, and from abusive and toxic relationships. This is your daily reminder that you deserve a life of peace, ease, fulfillment, orgasms, because you are, not because you earned it. And if you are here and my work resonates, it's because we were not given the right script. What we were handed, what was modeled for us was fundamentally flawed and broken. And the exact skills that make us successful in our careers are the skills that are keeping us from the intimacy and connection that we desire. Today, I'm going to give you my tips for dealing with uncertainty and how to relinquish control. What I want you to understand about high achieving women in control is this is not a character flaw. It is a learned strategy because at some point in our lives, probably early, probably because we had abusive parents, emotionally unavailable parents, personality disordered parents, addicted parents, parents that we got recognition from being good girls, getting good grades, being the best at things, bringing the family recognition. So at some point, we figured out when we weren't having our emotional needs met, because what is that? We probably are still not having our emotional needs met in relationship. If you were doing the work on the pleasure path with me, though, then that's a different story. But we learned that if we anticipate enough, we manage enough, we plan enough, we will feel safe. If we give enough, people won't leave. And that equation works to an extent and it gets us far. So, this, like clinically, we call this hypervigilance. The lived experience of hypervigilance over a number of years is exhaustion, burnout, anxiety, depression. I see my clients like OCD tendencies when things are really stressful. Maybe they have a sick parent, maybe they have fertility issues, they're going through a separation. The OCD tendencies come out. Do you know how many times I had to check if I locked the door or shut the garage? Like safety seeking, hypervigilance behaviors. The relational experience of hypervigilance, although we're doing it to seek safety so that our partners do not leave, it actually is the opposite. It's actually isolation because we cannot be in control of an experience and simultaneously be in it. So we can't be managing, thinking 10 steps ahead, worrying about our partner's mood. If I don't have sex, how is he going to treat me and the kids? How is the mood going to be when I come home? So if we are in our heads, planning, calculating, controlling, pretzeling, we're not actually present with experience. We're not actually available for connection. We're managing. So we're either managing the room or we are present in the experience. Most high achievers are chronically managing. We're chronically hypervigilant, and it keeps us from having the love, connection, sex that we want. Our relationships with others feel like dependence. We do the check ins, we create the plans. We're the CEOs in many areas. And it is our super traits, our loyalty, our tolerance, our hard work, our ability to be the glue to stay calm under pressure, right? These are not weaknesses. They are adaptations to childhood abuse that or childhood trauma that are actually assets in life and career. But when our body has been running on this stress response for years, we can't relax, we can't sit still, we need a project on the go, we need a hurdle to climb. And even when there isn't one, we create it, we fuck it up, we hit our pleasure ceiling, the amount of good that we allow ourselves to tolerate. Like if it becomes too much good, then we will start another initiative at work, do a home reno, just do something to get us that feeling of discomfort that is oh so familiar. So before we get into my tips for managing uncertainty, I do want to talk about the cost, the clinical reality. So being a clinician for 11 years, watching what living in chronic hypervigilance does to the nervous system, the body, the cellular physiology of a high achiever. When we are in that persistent state of put out fires, what's next? Let's go, waiting for the other shoe to drop, we're constantly activated. And that level of stress starts to impact our bodies. Okay, and I wrote about this in the Pink Canary. Grifters talk about this stuff online. Our social media people with no degrees talking about health and things. With cortisol dysfunction, we see hormonal dysregulation. So we have the fertility and the libido connection, irregular, absent periods. When we do not feel safe, and this could be safe in our bodies, safe in our relationships, safe in our work environment, we are down regulating our hormone production, our ability to produce in order to make more stress hormone. So the only time that I had PMDD or more significant hormone issues was in an abusive relationship. And it's like my body knew, my body was responding before I did. Okay, we see lots and lots of thyroid dysfunction, digestive issues, lots of women with like big time bloating or needing multiple sizes of pants. We see immune dysregulation, like the number of women that I've worked with in the last 11 years with autoimmune disease. And they are also people pleasers with super traits and chronically hypervigilant. We can't disconnect the two, they're not mutually exclusive. So those are some of the costs of being hypervigilant on your health. And then we have the relational cost. Okay, so control is the opposite of intimacy. Control is the opposite of intimacy. And I work with high achievers that truthfully do think that, like, that's how they know how to connect with people is by doing for them and thinking 10 steps ahead for them because that's what was modeled. But our partners feel like infantilized, emasculated, this connection because we have that mother-child dynamic and then we wonder why we don't want to have sex. Parenting is the one place, like parenting is a balance of control and autonomy, but we can't apply that to romantic relationships or friendships. We can't be managing somebody and being present with them as they are at the same time. So the hypervigilant, people-pleasing woman, the one who has learned to read the room, preempt every conflict, think of how to plan ahead so things don't go wrong, generally will have a lot of career success. But if we bring that same skill set into our most intimate relationships and into the bedroom, it kills desire because intimacy requires presence. Okay, that's not anticipating what's happening next, the state that we've spent our whole life in. It requires pleasure, where we are actually receiving the good feelings. Okay, this is very uncomfortable for most of us. Most of us cannot even take a compliment, and it requires connection. So, being with what is coming up without editing it. Okay, and that's our own feelings and the other person's. And if we cannot be with our own feelings, we definitely cannot hold space or contain for somebody else. So we have a twofold problem here. The loss of sexual interest in so many women in this pattern is because we cannot access a nervous system state of pleasure that is open, receptive, present. Right? And that's why I wrote The Pink Canary, because we're always managing, we're always doing. And there is another big portion where we actually don't feel safe to open in our relationships, or where maybe we are not safe, or our body is registering that we are not safe. And the most insidious thing about these types of relationships, and I've talked about this so much about why therapy can be harmful in coercive controlling relationships. Therapy can be harmful when you have super traits because they are weaponized against us. Our loyalty keeps us from leaving. Our tolerance taught us to normalize what should have been intolerable, and most people would have left years ago or decades ago. And our hard work, our drive to manage, to optimize, to fix, like that gets turned on us, where we are always the problem and our partner does not take any accountability. But we're left thinking, if we can just fix it or figure out this one thing, if I could just communicate better, anticipate more, if we could just get through a stressful upcoming event, then things will feel safe. Then we can heal. Then we can reconnect. Vigilance, our monitoring kicks into high gear because we blame ourselves and we think, okay, this strategy that's worked in every other area of my life will work. It has to work, but it's actually just the thing that's keeping us trapped in toxic, unfulfilling relationships and making us sick. So I've had a lot of clients separating in the last few years because as they choose pleasure, accountability, they learn the tools to actually have a connected relationship, and their partners are choosing not to go with them. But when we choose to leave, or when we choose to at least name what's happening, even if we stay, we lose the illusion that control was ever keeping us safe. And it is one of the most disorienting realizations of healing. Like we never really had the control that we thought we had. But if managing doesn't, right, if trying everything, if managing doesn't protect us from the hurt, then what actually does? So, what I had to learn slowly, physiologically, in my body, was to sit with not knowing, was to tolerate discomfort. And not because I chose it or wanted to. I would have been happy to keep being hypervigilant, but I had no other option. Recovering from an abusive relationship is a masterclass in tolerating uncertainty. When you separate or break up, redefine who you are. Like you don't know who you've lost yourself in relationship. This happens to every high achiever that I know because you've given away so many parts of yourself in an attempt to hold it together. But without the idea of your relationship, you don't know who you are. You don't know if your perceptions are reliable. You don't know what feels safe from the inside because you've been outsourcing that signal to somebody else for years. We people please to maintain connection. We practice self abandonment to maintain connection. We practice toxic hope to maintain connection. And again, we're back to why therapy, unless your therapist understands super traits and coercive control. That's why therapy doesn't work, because one partner is doing all of the giving and the other one isn't moving an inch. They're not taking any accountability, or they will perform accountability for a little bit and then a week or two later, you're right back to the start. And because you're on that roller coaster of, oh, they're getting it. They say they're sorry. Look at this little crumb of change. And then you're back. You're in the loop. We need to just, we get off that ride and we walk the pleasure path together. Okay. And we learn these things in very small pieces, in moments of sitting with discomfort without reacting or reaching for the exit, or moments of letting a compliment or something good land before we try and deflect or minimize. And that's the work I'm going to tell you how I do it, how I help my clients do it. Okay. And this is for everyone. Okay. Whether you are a single superwoman, whether you are dating after divorce, whether you are in a relationship, the underlying pattern, the fundamentals of trying to create safety through control and hypervigilance, it's one inherited a long time ago, a long time before our current partners. And then, even if we get a new relationship, those same dynamics are going to come up. Okay, so I am navigating uncertainty in dating right now. Okay, I haven't resolved my super traits or my want to control. But what I can tell you is before I healed, I would be the person that when there was uncertainty or there was a disagreement, I wanted to solve it now. I wanted it solved immediately because it was so uncomfortable for me to be uncomfortable or the person that I loved to be uncomfortable. Okay, what I can tell you, dating after divorce, especially after a toxic, coercive, imbalanced relationship, some of these wounds surface every pattern you thought you healed. We get in second marriages, new relationships, and wherever we go, there we are. The same patterns are there. And I've worked with so many women that they desperately do not want to leave it, even though it's unhealthy and unfulfilling, because they don't want a second divorce. They think that there's something wrong with them. Because, we always blame the women. Okay, but the questions that I'm asking myself currently: can I trust my read on this person? Am I attracted to them? Am I attracted to the feeling of being wanted, desired, pursued? But then why have I been ignoring and dodging everyone else for years? What does safe feel like? And how do I know the difference between nervous system safety and boredom? And we'll be honest. So there's more than one man. One feels safe, looks good on paper, does not activate my nervous system at all. Some orange flags, but it's more the person that my therapist is like, see where that goes. And am I confusing chemistry with old patterns, familiarity with not being attracted to somebody? And there's somebody that helped me find my light again, my turn on again, that I feel very drawn to. Kind of scares the shit out of me. But there's a difference. The difference is I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention with a much more calibrated nervous system than I had before. My ability to sit with discomfort, because the therapist is saying, encouraging me to not repeat old patterns with man number two. But the thing with both of them is only time is going to tell. And my goal here isn't certainty, although my logic brain wants this. The goal is the goal is increasing my capacity for sensation, increasing my capacity to stay present with myself and my desires with the unknown without collapsing into hypervigilance or cutting and running, classic Jordan move. But I have this newly developed safety muscle, safety in myself, safety in my desire, that I know that I'm going to be fine no matter what. And that is the benefit of spending the last 3 years learning to decenter men and the patriarchy. And I think this is why I'm actually meeting some good ones. Okay, let's get into the practical tools for sitting with uncertainty. I have six. The others you can find on the Pleasure Path Substack. And understanding uncertainty, learning things conceptually does not automatically make us better at tolerating it. This is a body based skill. We want to have 5-minute orgasms, kind of need to train for it, kind of need to practice staying present with that sensation. And oddly enough, the more present we can be with pain, the more present we can be with pleasure. So, as much as this stuff is icky and we don't want to tolerate our uncertainty, it's going to make it you better, better at sex and pleasure. So, my tip for tolerating, we need to go back to just the tips. My tip for tolerating uncertainty: number one, separate sensation from the story. When uncertainty arises, anything that makes us feel panicked, I want you to notice what happens in your body before we are narrating it. We need to create a gap there. There is a physical sensation, a tightening in your chest or your pelvic floor, shallow breathing, feeling hot, our stomach contracting. That's the part that we need to get good at. That's the part we need to welcome, being present in our body. Okay, the story that we are stacking on top of it is often what creates more suffering. Practice asking, what is happening in my body right now? What is the sensation? Where do I feel it? How big? What color? What's the quality? Does it move? Feelings will not kill you. It might feel like it will when we've been spending our whole life trying not to feel and numbing. Learning to sit with our feelings is a practice. This is Taoism. This is Tantra. This is sitting with high sensation, pleasure, and pain for better orgasms. This is the pain practice part. Two different sides of the same physiologic coin. Second, the physiologic sigh. Okay, this is a specific breathing pattern, a double inhale. Okay, we're going to inhale through our nose as much as we can. And when we think our lungs are full, we're going to inhale a little longer, like another time, and then a slow exhale through the mouth. So, this is a quick and easy way that we can downregulate our stress response in real time. Use this in a meeting. Use this when your kids are melting down. Use this when you're triggered with your partner. And the extended exhale is going to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest, digest, receive. So when we feel the grip of uncertainty, we're not thinking our way out of it. We're telling our body it's safe first. We breathe our way down. I also read that you can stick your tongue out for 40 seconds to downregulate your stress response. I haven't fact checked this. I saw it on Instagram. I've tried it a couple times, but like I can't even count to 40. I get distracted. I'm too neurodivergent for that. So that one does not work for me. But the physiologic side does. We're going in the number 3. We're going to work on titrating the discomfort so that we do not flood ourselves. One of the reasons high achievers avoid uncertainty or we jump to control, or when we stop controlling, we feel like the walls are crashing in. Everything's going to flood in at once. I call this the clamped fire hose. Okay, things have been building up behind the scenes for years. The practice is for us to not jump in the deep end, but deliberately choose small, manageable doses of not knowing. So, for example, let the text sit unanswered for an hour. Leave your phone, go do something else. Or maybe you need to leave it for 10 minutes or 3 minutes more. But we are allowing the uncertainty. We're building that tolerance a little longer. Make a decision without researching all the options first. Like that honestly drives me up thinking about that because I've shifted my life so much away from the hypervigilance. Choose a restaurant you've never been to, didn't read the reviews about. Just fucking show up somewhere and go. See what happens. Small, deliberate, repeated doses of tolerating the unknown is a practice, it's a skill. And it's how your nervous system learns that uncertainty is not the same thing as actual danger. And I will ask my daughter, is this real danger or does it just feel like danger? And oftentimes it just feels like danger. We can name our feeling where it is. Practice feeling it just a little longer. And I promise you will build your tolerance and it's going to lead to way better sex. Not that that's even the point of this, but it will. If you want the rest of the tips for sitting with tolerating discomfort, head to the Pleasure Path Substack. This is where I'm giving you the practical tools, tips, the how to's. Before I want to let you go, I want to speak directly to the women and the really smart men who've been listening to this, recognizing themselves. You're not somebody who falls apart easily. You hold things together well. You always have. And that is exactly why no one, including you, has taken seriously how much being a people pleaser, being hypervigilant has cost you. Sleep that's not restoring you, relationships that are on autopilot, or you're so shut down, a body that is breaking down. But there's a version of you underneath all of it, waiting. You've probably done some of this, a version of this work before, therapy, a course, and it helped to a degree, but you are still here, still carrying the same weight from your past. It's not a failure. It's a signal that what you've tried hasn't been addressed at the level that the trauma actually lives in your body, in your nervous system, in your hormones, in your immune system, in the patterns that you learned so long before you had the language for them. There's two ways that I work with people, in a group and a small number of one-on-one clients. It is the most precise, customizable, high-level work that I do. If you are at the point that something needs to change, apply. Head to the show notes, fill out the link. It'll take you 10 minutes. I read every application personally. We're going to get on a call and decide if working together privately, if one of my groups is the best fit for you. You didn't build this life by waiting until conditions were perfect. This is your sign. The application is in the show notes. Go fill it out. And I cannot wait to connect.